on flight mode.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Titan Talks. Today, I'm going to be interviewing an amazing Titan, definitely a Titan in her niche, and she's certainly become extremely well known in the industry, and not only in the industry, a lot of people everywhere around the world know her. So it's my pleasure to have with us Jyotsna Ramachandran. And before we got started, we were just talking about how did we connect. And I had attended a Money and You workshop in Chennai, organized by someone else, Aziza, I think, yes.
Right.
And that's where I ended up meeting Jyotsna, and she said she was a BNI member, but I hadn't known her from BNI. But what really impressed me was that on the way back, she had given me a little book. And when I was flying back from Chennai to Mumbai, I read that amazing book. And immediately she left an incredible first impression upon me, because we really hardly had any time to talk at the session. So, Jyotsna, wonderful to have you here on Titan Talks. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Neeraj, for having me on Titan Talks. It's a huge privilege for me because ever since my BNI days, I always used to look up to you. I've in fact received an award from you. But of course, like you are the superstar. Obviously, we can't expect you to know all the BNI members in India. But the day I got to meet you in person, I've considered myself to be so fortunate because I could then really talk about what I do. And, then I think from there on began our mentor-mentee journey, right?
Yes, and in fact, many people don't know that you actually were my first mentee. I, I,
Even
I
I
was
didn't
just,
know that. I just
I was
asked you.
so, yeah, I mean, I was so impressed by the book that you had given me and you'd written, that when you said, would you like me to be your mentor? I just said yes. So that's what a book can do for you. And we're going to talk a lot about books, because I firmly believe if you are going to become a titan in your chosen niche, then it is super important that you publish. And it may be publishing content via a blog, publishing videos, doing webinars. But I think there is something very special about a book when you say that you are one of the few people that have written a book, because a lot of people think about writing a book but have not ended up writing a book. So let's get into the questions in a moment. Let me give you a formal introduction, and I think it really deserves a formal introduction. So Jyotsna is definitely a best-selling author. She preaches what she speaks, so she helps others become published best-selling authors, and she herself is a best-selling author. Not only that, she's a 2 times TEDx speaker, so just Google her up and you'll be able to find these amazing, incredible TED Talks. And she coaches people, and her journey really started where she started coaching people internationally. And a lot of her clients actually are based in the US. And I think she's helped some 500 plus authors become published, and a bulk of them are in the US. So she's founded an amazing organization called Happy Self-Publishing. She's the founder, and she has a program called uh, she's an author success coach. And what's the program called? It's the Author Success Academy, right?
That's right.
Wonderful. And she essentially helps you literally go from just that idea in your head to actually having the book in your hands. And she helps you every step of the way. So she has a goal to help how many people? What's the goal? To help
Now it's 10,000 people, Neeraj.
10,000 people get published. So it's amazing. And not only that, she does all of this while she's a full-time mother as well. And she in a fun way, says that she's also a loving wife, and she's actually married to a love guru, a real life love guru. Okay, and I love him dearly as well. So both husband and wife are great. I'm great fans of, and they're great friends of mine. So let's dive into this, Jyotsna. First of all, I just want to set some context. When I moved to India, no one knew me, and I was starting a brand new business, which I didn't know. Okay, which was the business of networking.
Mm.
And what happened was, along the way, Dr. Ivan Meisner, the founder of BNI, took me under his wing and said, Neeraj, look, you need to really start writing a book. Okay.
Mm.
And that was too big for me to consider. But he said, at least you should begin to publish articles, and I'm willing to coach you on that. And he was showing me some statistics on the growth of BNI, post him publishing the book.
Wow.
And there was an author success kind of program that he was mentoring authors in, and I joined that, and I started writing a few articles, and that's how kind of my publishing journey really started in earnest. And then by the time I had 6 7 articles, um, we we co-authored a book where I was writing about online publishing, online networking rather, and he was talking about offline networking. And that book became a huge success. It was the BNI Handy Guide of to Networking. And
Mm.
from that, a TV station, TV 18, approached me to become their networking expert. And the
Wow.
rest, as they say, is history. Like
Absolutely.
literally, overnight, I became the networking guru, and
Hmm.
BNI's growth just took off. So tell me, why should someone publish a book, even if they've not considered publishing a book, if they're an expert, an entrepreneur?
Yeah. See, when a person is an expert or an entrepreneur, their primary goal is to grow their business, get more clients. But today, in any industry, if somebody wants to be a business coach, there are hundreds of business coaches out there. If you want to be a fitness expert, there are hundreds of them. So it's very important that one really stands out. One has to be a thought leader so that you don't have to chase after clients. Clients come looking for you. So that's a better place to be in, right? So for that, I look at it as a pyramid. So everybody these days are a thought leader at some level. If I tweet something, if I post something on Instagram and people respond to it, I'm automatically projecting my thought to the world. But that's the level 4 of thought leadership. But there are people who take it more seriously, and they start probably blogging regularly, putting posts on YouTube, and they maybe do podcasts. So that is the next level where you're more serious and you're more intentional about your thoughts. So that's the level 2 of thought leadership. Then level 3 is something I would consider when somebody is more structured, like doing webinars, creating online courses, where it's more like a step-by-step teaching that you give to your audience. And that also is fantastic because people begin to trust you. They know what you're are all about, and they want to see what else do you have to offer. So that's level 2 of thought leadership. But the ultimate one is the level 1, which is about writing books and becoming an author, because not everybody does that, right? I see so many people who are so good at writing, they keep writing blog after blog, and they would have cumulatively written 100,000 words, but they feel that, oh my God, should I write a book? That's going to be a very daunting task. And that's why a lot of people shy away from writing a book, though they would have just actually written 10 books in the form of blogs. So I feel that's why it's really important that you write a book, because it becomes so easy when you meet a person at a business meeting. Instead of giving your business card or a brochure, give your book, because that will make you completely different from all the other people in the room. I think that's a great way to start a conversation, and that's why one has to write a book.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because there were many other people in that event that you and I attended. But from that event, essentially, I only remember you because of the book
I'm so
that
glad I had that book in my hand that day.
so tell me a little bit more in terms of when people, are considering this, and it seems a bit too daunting, and
Right.
and that's why, so what stops people from writing a book, and how do you help them unpack this amazing expertise and help them get to the point where they actually do have help us through that.
Yeah, sure, Neeraj. So there are certain things like preparatory steps before one begins to start writing their book. So one has to be absolutely clear about why are they writing the book, the purpose. Because without the purpose, today I may just see that my competitor has written a book and I may want to write, but tomorrow if my purpose is not really strong, I won't continue with the project. So one has to clearly define their purpose and have it written. So I have these author cards which I give to my students. So they write out their purpose and they clearly mention what is the topic of their book and how is it going to change people's lives. So that's like a mission statement for their book project. So it's important to have clarity on that. And then
Hmm.
comes clarity on the topic, and then having an outline in place, because it's like a GPS. If you don't have a book outline, if you have that outline in place, it acts like a GPS. So these are some preparatory steps. But after having the outline in place, a small percentage of people are lucky enough to have writing skills and they love writing. And for those people, my advice would be, by all means, go ahead and write your book yourself, because it's a very fulfilling experience. But unfortunately, most people are not blessed with those skills, right? So, sorry, you were going to say something, Neeraj?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to just say, prompt you on that, saying that, okay, it's fine if certain people already have that inbuilt skill or they've been honing it, but what about people who are busy?
Yeah.
They don't have the time, they have the inclination, they have the expertise, yet don't have that. And I think there's a second question which I'm going to do, which is a separate one, which is slightly different, which is of uh, what if I'm facing the imposter syndrome, where I'm thinking, who am I to, write about anything? Why will anyone care?
Right.
And I know I kind of faced that initially when I was considering writing a book. So let's come to the first part, which is, if you're busy, how do you go about fitting all of these things in?
Yeah, so people could have various things that are stopping them, like busyness, or, for example, my husband Girish has dyslexia. So even if he wants to write, even if he gives his time, he cannot frame one sentence in a proper grammatically right manner. So what do those people do? So while trying to help Girish, I discovered three methods, which now I end up teaching all my clients who have a problem with writing. So the first way is just talk your book instead of writing it, because talking comes more naturally to most of us than writing, because as children we learn to speak first and then we learn to write much later, right? So the best way is to just use a free Google Doc. So you just have this voice typing feature. So just click on that and just imagine that the computer is a person who really needs your help, and start explaining the concepts based on your book's outline. So that way, Google Doc will take your voice and transcribe it into text while you're speaking. So if you just speak for 1 hour, you'll have 5,000 to 10,000 words magically appearing on your desktop. Of course, that's not going to be a final book, but at least it's a good rough draft that you can further polish. So that's one tool that I highly recommend people. There are obviously paid tools like rev.com and other things which are even better, but this is one thing that people can do. And the
Yeah,
other,
yeah, sorry. So I think there's something really important there that I picked up, which is you've got to have in mind the kind of person you are writing for. So I think, the ideal prospect, and as if, they've asked you questions, they are stuck, and literally you are writing this book only for them.
yeah, and for business owners, the pro tip is your ideal customer avatar is equal to your reader avatar. It's the same. So that's where many people get stuck, because they don't see the connect between their book and the business. But if you are an entrepreneur or you want to start up a business, then it should be the same kind of people that you're writing to, because they ultimately should get converted to your clients.
Hmm.
Right? So that's
Awesome.
one way where you just talk your book out. The other method is, even if you get sometimes stuck because you're doing all of this alone, just find a person to interview you. Like the way, Neeraj, when you're asking me questions, it's easier for me to answer rather than just trying to think on my own. So that way, if a person can just get a colleague or a friend to ask them questions, then they can just sit back like a celebrity and answer the questions, and they can record all of this, get it transcribed. This is what we did for Girish. I was the interviewer. He was sitting in his couch and happily answering it. So in a over a course of 10 days, we finished those 10 chapters for his book. So that's a great method to get the content out. And the third
Yes.
method, which I would recommend everybody, even if you're great at writing, the third method is to go and interview other people for your book. And coming back to Girish's example, you were one of the people we interviewed for his book, right? You and Twinkle
Yes.
shared your ideas. Like that, we interviewed several other people, and that kind of I think was about 30% of the book's content. And that is fantastic because we don't just have the author's perspective, but several other experts talk about their expertise. So the thing is, in the mind of the reader, this first time author whom nobody knows becomes equal to these other experts. That's the kind of perception that readers would get. And I think that's why it's really important to also interview other people in your book.
And I think that's another pro tip, isn't that? That when you go out there and tell people you're writing a book and you'd like to interview them, then people are a lot more open to that interview, and it really helps you along your author journey.
Exactly. People can interview their prospective clients, and that way they can just build a good friendship and rapport and then later talk about business.
So, tell me more in terms of how should a book help you unpack your intellectual property? Is there something as giving too much away, or because I often feel that with experts.
Yeah, so this is something that people worry about. Am I giving away too much? Will people just read the book and not contact me? So ideally, I think the book should uh, have everything about what to do. So if you're an expert in, say, LinkedIn marketing, like your course was fantastic, by the way, Neeraj. So in your book, suppose you're writing a book on LinkedIn, you can just tell people what to do. So and give them a lot of stories, case studies. So that makes the book very engaging. Your own personal story of how you've been using LinkedIn. So pack it with a lot of stories and tell them the exact 8 steps or whatever on how to do LinkedIn marketing effectively. So the book is all about what to do. And then I think the next level can be an online course or something like a group coaching program where you teach people how to do. So the serious people who actually want to implement this will go to the next level, and that's when they will engage with the author as a coach and they will learn the how to part of it. And then you can
Hmm.
probably have one more premium level, which is your one-on-one consultation or coaching. And that is where you actually handhold them and make them do it, right? So sometimes you even if you teach how to do, people are still lazy or they don't have that accountability. So that's when the author can have another premium level where they can teach them not just how to do but also make them do it. And yeah, those are I call this an author funnel, Neeraj. So the book is the first
Right.
level of the author funnel.
Yes.
And once somebody reads your book, they would want to know more about you. So that's when you should have other forms of content like your blog, podcast. Basically, a lot of free value is what you give in the next level. And then they want to engage with you, and that's the paid level. So have an easy to buy product which is not too expensive. So they
Hmm.
actually open their wallet and they vote for your product. And finally, give them something that's really valuable for them to get those results. And it's good for the author also, because then the next level is where the author really makes a lot of money.
And tell me, does this work equally well for, say, B2B type businesses as well as B2C? Uh, is there a difference in the way one would write a book depending on the market?
Yes, so the book will work for both the markets. But how does the person get in touch with you after the book? I think that's where there would be a slight difference. In the B2C market, it's good to just have a free bonus inside the book, like a free downloadable cheat sheet or a checklist, so that the readers end up joining your email list, and then
Hmm.
keep giving them more and more value, and then you can sell to them in the back end. So that is how B2C typically works. In the
Hmm.
B2B market, the author can use the book as a way to get appointments, go and meet in the decision makers inside companies. So I think
Hmm.
that way, for example, we have our common friend Piyush Bhatia, right? So what Piyush did was, for him, the decision makers, though he is doing B2C in terms of helping college students get better at their English and get jobs and all that, key decision makers would be these college correspondents and principals who would give him a chance to go and speak to the students. So to reach out to them, he voluntarily made this strategy of sending the books to colleges. So they would read the book and give him a call. So that way B2B slightly works differently, but the book is effective in both ways.
Right, right. Amazing. I really, really like that. So, a couple of key things in terms of, what are mistakes that you've seen people make, because especially when people start to get that idea, I want to get published, and, that they go with that momentum and that drive and get started, then, what can stop them, and, you know, what are some of the things that they need to be aware of?
Sure. So first of all, people don't have those preparatory steps. They just open their book and they start writing. So it is never consistent. So first have those preliminary things like defining your mission, that is the purpose, along with who your target reader is, and then defining the topic. A lot of times people have multiple topic ideas and they end up writing a book these are some mistakes people make before writing. While writing, people don't have a writing routine. So I think, say, a book project can be ideally finished in terms of the writing in 1 or 2 months if the person is consistent. So having a 1 hour dedicated for the book project is something that I would highly recommend. That can be 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever works for you, but just have that 1 hour of your writing time. And it's also important to track that. And this is something I learned from you, Neeraj. You asked me to read this book, Four Disciplines of Execution. And one of the
Yes.
things that we learned in that book is to have a scorecard, like a dashboard to track the progress. So I call this a writing track sheet. And this is a simple spreadsheet where people write down the date, how many words did they manage to write that particular day, from what time to what time did they sit and write, and where did they sit and write. Because sometimes your dining table may not be the ideal place, but you need to create your own writing zone inside your house or your office or wherever. And so it's important to track all of this so that you have a daily progress kind of the meter that you can track. So this is important. And finally, the most important one is to have an accountability partner for this, because writing can be so lonely if you try and do it on your own. So in my academy, what I do is I help people find their accountability partners, and I tell them, if you just want to take your own time to write, then just have a weekly check with your accountability partner. But if you're super serious about getting fast results, then do this writing together on a Zoom call. Just mute each other, but you can see each other, and you know that both of you are writing together every single day. So that will
Wow.
take the game to the next level, and you become super serious, and you can just finish it. You can crank out 30,000-40,000 words in 30 days easily.
Yeah, and I think that tracking is very important. I remember when I was writing last year, I had set myself a particular goal that I wanted to write about 300 words every day. And initially, it was tough, but then as I began to gather steam, probably about the second week, I found that I was able to easily get into the 500, 600 words in a day. And I think the other thing that really helped was seeing the cumulative score, to
Yeah.
see that, okay, like I've written this, and it's now gone to so many words. So I think that really helps. And I think having those specific outlines, saying, okay, these are the key chapters.
Right.
Now, typically, do you suggest that people go sequentially, or what start with whatever they seem inspired with, and then fill in the blanks later?
Yes, so I would go with the second approach, because sometimes people are just not in the mood to write chapter 3, and that's why they just prolong their project by 3 months. So instead, have the outline in place, and
Yeah.
it's not even necessary that you should write the introduction in the beginning. So a lot of my clients, I give them an introduction writing template, They write that out, and then they finish the book in whichever order, and then they come back and rewrite their introduction, because after finishing their book they realize this book is something very different from what they started out with. So yeah,
Mm,
there's no rule that you have to do one in the exact sequential order, but it's
mm.
just important that they stick to that daily writing ritual.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, very nice. Should people find a publisher or should they self-publish?
Great question, Neeraj. So this totally depends on the author and what are their strengths. So what I have seen is, if a person is already a celebrity, like a movie star or a sports celebrity, or they have a million followers on Instagram and they have a huge audience already, then it's very easy to get a yes from a traditional publisher, because traditional publishing houses get hundreds and thousands of manuscripts every day, and they usually end up rejecting 99% of them, because they all they need want to see is this book marketable. So if the person already has a market, it's easy for them to market it, and they would want to work with that author. However, most people who are first time authors will not fall under that bracket. So what do other people do? So instead of wasting time trying to submit your manuscript through a literary agent to different publishing houses and getting rejected and waiting for years, they can just go and self-publish at least their first book. And self-publishing has a huge number of advantages. You get to keep a lot of the royalties, like in Amazon, you get 70% royalty on the ebook, whereas a traditional publisher would hardly give you 5 to 10%. So in terms of
Mm,
the money that you can make, in terms of the decisions you can take, in terms of, for example, the kind of cover you want, the sometimes traditional publishers would ask you to change the cover so that you can own the rights and the royalties. So that way, self-publishing has a lot of advantages, but people end up making a lot of mistakes when they self-publish, thinking that, oh, if I self-publish, should I do everything myself? And they end up doing their cover on their own using Canva. See, it's okay to do your use Canva for a lot of things like social media posting, but not for your book cover, because that's
yeah.
something that's going to have your name forever. So for those kind of things, like for editing and interior design, people end up trying to learn from YouTube and doing it on their own. So just because
Mm,
you're self-publishing, it does not mean that your book should not look like a New York Times bestseller. You have all
mm,
the right to make it look like that by just hiring the right professionals. So that's one mistake
mm,
I see a lot of self-published authors doing. And also, people think that if I self-publish, that means I can only publish the ebook. It's not that way. People can do their paperback, their hardcover, their audiobook. So ideally the book should be available in multiple formats for people, for different kinds of people to consume the book, right? So the
mm,
hard work is the writing. Once you write, it's easy to have it in multiple formats. So I
mm,
think that is another mistake a lot of self-published authors do. And thirdly, the marketing. Usually a
mm,
publishing house will create a marketing plan, at least the initial plan, but when authors self-publish, they think I'll just upload it to Amazon and Amazon will take care of it. No, Amazon is like a jungle. So we need to really market the book well, and during the launch, and have an ongoing marketing plan. Just like
mm.
like a business marketing plan, a book also deserves a marketing plan. And if a
Yes.
self-published author takes care of these things, then there is no reason why the book should not become a bestseller and get clients for your business.
So Jyotsna, I've referred you a number of clients. A number of my clients have ended up publishing through you. So tell us a little bit more in terms of how people can get in touch and what sort of help they can get for you. I wanted you to do something special for our community.
Absolutely, Neeraj. So I assume that most people would be either thinking of writing a book, or they would have started and they would have not pursued it. So for all aspiring authors in your tribe, Neeraj, I want to do an exclusive masterclass just for the people who know you and who are your clients. So what I'm going to do is next week, that is on next Wednesday, 23rd of September at 4 p.m., I would love to
Okay.
do a completely free masterclass for your tribe. If you have the link, please do share. People can register for
Yes.
that. And it's a
Yes.
90-minute masterclass where we'll go in depth into all the different things that people need to do to prepare themselves to become an author. And the reason I want to do this live is so that people can ask me questions, and that makes it more interesting. Otherwise, recorded webinars are not that much fun. So I would love
Yes.
people to, come live for this session and get a lot of value out of it.
Okay, so I'm gonna just put that particular link as a banner. Just give me a second. Hopefully, I can share that. Just give me a second. Let's see if I can get that.
Yes, that's the
Yeah,
one.
there we go. Yeah. So I've also put it in the chat, and you'll be able to register using this particular link. So do check that out. And what are some of the things I hang on, I have that open. Let's see if I can just show this to people on the screen. Just a second. I'm going to do a share screen here. So there we go. And here we go.
Great. So that's
So
the any of the buttons will work, and it'll
yes.
help. Just have to leave your name, email, and phone number, and you're all registered. So yeah, those are all the people I learned from. Neeraj, we need to take an updated photograph so that I can add your pic also.
Yeah, I mean, these are very famous people here. You know, Jack Canfield, I think Robert Kiyosaki's wife, Dr. DeMartini, Brian Tracy, Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are just some of the people that I know. And you can see, on Trustpilot, she's got tons of 5-star reviews. She specifically tells us, what she's going to be covering, why a book is the number one marketing investment. Some key stats which will really convince you why you should publish a book if you've not thought about it. How a book can, 4x your revenue. It really is amazing. And right now, I've done a few things on LinkedIn right now in terms of a book, but I can see a LinkedIn book coming up next. So,
great.
and then, the serial author mindset. So, how you can really create a funnel which continues to build your expertise, position you as a credible expert, and how to write without writing. This is my favorite. How to finish your manuscript in 30 days without writing a single word. Count me in. And how to start your marketing book in 7 days. So we did a lot of work on the marketing autopilot formula when you were putting this together.
Absolutely. It's
So
so useful.
some really amazing things you put together, and you have this amazing like assessment tool, which will help people figure out whether they're ready or not.
Oh,
So
yes. So that's also a part of this. So once someone signs up for the masterclass, they will also get this assessment tool that will help one to understand what is their probability of becoming a successful author and how you can improve your author success score.
yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So brilliant. I'm going to stop sharing that. If people have, so we have lots of people who'd like to attend. I know Chaitanya, Prasad, Vinay. So all of these people will definitely be there. We will be letting the community know, but please use the link. If you have questions, please, put them in the chat. We would love to answer a few questions right now live. I hope you have a little bit more time for us, Jyotsna.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Meanwhile, I'll answer the question that you brought up, Neeraj, about the imposter syndrome, right?
Yes.
So all of us go through it at different stages of our life. Whether am I really good enough to do this? And most aspiring authors have that question in their mind. So I'll tell you, when I was writing Job Escape Plan about 6 years back, I was by no measure a super successful entrepreneur. In fact, I was struggling when I met you as well. It was not my business really had not taken off. But what really inspired me to write was a lot of these new moms were talking to me and asking me, "What are you doing? You're doing something from home. We know that you've quit your job and you're managing something." By staying at home and also taking care of your baby. So we would love to learn what you're doing. This is
Mm,
a constant question I was getting asked. So that in that moment, I thought, instead of comparing myself with Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or all these, big founders, let me
yeah.
just help the people who are a few steps behind me. So that helped me to overcome the imposter syndrome. Instead of I feel that, however big we become in terms of our expertise, there will always be people ahead of us. So instead of comparing ourselves with the people ahead, I think we just have to draw inspiration from them and just look at serving people who are a few steps behind us. So I
Mm.
thought that even if 100 people read my book, it's going to be worth it. And I published it, but I'm so glad that thousands of people have read it now. So I think that's like an antidote to, having this imposter syndrome. Just look at serving people who are behind you.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. I remember the first book I wrote was a book on grief, and
Yeah.
I'd written it just for myself. It was almost cathartic, and it was there to help me. And then I must have printed about 100 copies, and I did a small little book launch, and a couple of friends and family came to um, support it. But as people began to read the book and I began to get feedback, suddenly things really opened up for me. The book sold out in Ireland
Wow.
when no one had ever heard about me, and then I ended up going to Ireland a couple of times, and kind of everything was paid for, and it was
Wow.
amazing. So it really can open up brand new opportunities for you when you have the book. And I think, as you rightfully say, that think of what were some of the things that people are asking you, the typical questions, and if you were to structure those particular thoughts and put them in a little book, uh, that would be a great way to help people. So yeah, I love it. um, so we have a couple of questions. So let me see if I can put this on there. What inspired you to become an author coach?
Thank you so much, Sanidhya Bisani, for asking this. So, to just give you a background, I started Happy Self Publishing about 5 years ago. So, after I wrote my book, Job Escape Plan, a lot of people started asking me, can you help us publish our books? So, I think whatever I do is all based on what people ask me. So, I then started Happy Self Publishing because I realized I already had the team in place, like designers, editors, formatters. I just had to uh, put them under one roof and call the agency as Happy Self Publishing, and we started getting business. So I was very fortunate that way. But last few years, I always thought that the number of people who finish their book and then come to us are very, very few as comparison to the number of people who want to write a book and are not able to finish it. So that is when I thought that it's important for me to first teach people how to take their vague idea and write a book and reach that finish line. And then that can also be like a lead magnet for my business at Happy Self Publishing. But I was just too lazy. Thanks to 2020, where so many things changed. And I then started working on putting this together as a course and a community called Author Success Academy. So that's how I became a coach rather than just a service provider. And this is even more fulfilling, Neeraj, because now you have a community of people who look up to you and who want to learn from you rather than just a set of clients who look at you as a vendor. So I feel I'm in a very blessed position right now where I can both teach and support people through my services.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we have Dr. Chaitanya Shah, who also has a question. I put there. He's currently writing 2 books, and he's very accomplished. So this is his question. I have a idea and fair amount of material ready. How do I go about structuring it all?
Great. So this is the second option that I would like to give our audience here. So if people are still thinking about the book and have not taken much of action, then the masterclass will be super useful. But if people are already in the process, like Mr. Chaitanya here, they're already in the process of writing and they just want to know what next, then the best way is to schedule a strategy call with me. Or you can just shoot an email to Jyotsna at happyselfpublishing.com. So that way, we can just get on a call for 30 minutes, understand what your book is about, understand what are the different ways we can help, and then we can show you what are the next steps after that.
Wonderful. I'm just going to put Jyotsna's email as well in the chat. Just give me a second. I'll just put that, and you can drop her email. And thank you Awesome. So wonderful. We've had some amazing feedback, uh, which is great. Give me a second. I'm still learning my way around this. uh, So, thank you so much, Jyotsna. I'm looking forward to that amazing webinar that you've put together for us next week.
Yes.
So, let's just put that here. This is the link. So, please join us next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. Any
Thanks a lot
any
for the opportunity, Neeraj.
any last words for the Titan community as far as publishing goes?
I think this community is fantastic because you're not just doing great in your work, but most of you are also givers. You want to do something beyond you, right? So I feel a book is something that will last beyond our lifetime. It can be a legacy that you can leave for generations to come. We may not be able to see it right now, but only
Mm.
after the book gets published, you will not just see opportunities coming to your life in terms of making more money, getting more clients, but it also kind of gives you the fulfillment that you have now left a piece of your soul and it's going to be used by people even after you're gone. I think that's why everyone should write a book.
Awesome. Thank you. Amazing last words. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining in. And stay tuned. We have some amazing people lined up for Titan Talks, and I'll let people know. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we will let you know about upcoming ones. Thank you so much. Thanks.